The scientists at Royal BC Museum study all kinds of life forms, including the tiniest insects. But imagine their astonishment at discovering that far from being landlocked, some insect species have colonized the marine environment. Veronica Cooper brings us the story.
But it is pretty high tide. Does it get higher than this?
This is no casual walk on the beach.
It's nice weather, though.
These two scientists are heading to work.
At the museum, I'm always studying the diversity of insects, and there's thousands of species of insects in the province. But one of the ones we don't know much about are the insects right on the beach.
Well, I study marine biodiversity, and shoreline diversity is very interesting to me because it represents the intersection between fully terrestrial life and marine life. I dissected a whole bunch of barnacles and looked at what was inside them. There it is.
Well, here on Gonzales Beach, growing right here in the middle of the city on the beach, we found barnacles. Oh, and there's a fly. Right there.
There it is.
And we found some unique flies that are only on those barnacles and not found anywhere else in the world.
And you can see the smaller barnacles growing on the larger ones.
We think of flies living on garbage, or maybe they'll bite us like mosquitoes. We don't think of them as eating barnacles, but we found them living on them and laying their eggs inside the barnacles. And then the larvae would eat the barnacles as they developed through the winter.
We also found several species of beetles which were apparently feeding on the barnacle fly larvae.
I don't know anything about barnacles. I came in knowing about flies. So to work with someone like Henry, he can tell me what the barnacles are, where are they living, how do they interact with the environment, and then I can start to look at the flies. And then together, we can do scientific work on the both of them.
The barnacles that the flies are living on, the acorn barnacles, called Balanus glandula, are considered invasive in Japan. They have now been recorded in Japan, I think within the last 20 years. Yep, and they're attached to each other.
Future projects could include work with researchers in Japan to learn whether these flies live in acorn barnacles on that shoreline.
There's two species that we find in BC. They're not found on the East Coast, they're not found in Europe, they're not found anywhere else. So we need to know, are they limited to here? Are they possibly more places than we think? And if there were threats to the ocean, that would be a threat to these species that we wouldn't even know about because we didn't know they were there in the first place.
There is the potential to track the distribution of the barnacle flies through the distribution of the barnacles. It gets us closer to understanding what constitutes, what aspects of its lifestyle or its diet helps us to define them as fully or partially marine insects.
Fascinating work happening right here on our beaches.
This Week in History, brought to you by the Royal BC Museum, bringing British Columbia's stories together.